let's put the new things we've learned in Illustrator and incorporate them into drawing our final comp for either the line, color, or texture or shape drawings that you've made. So you're going to pick your best rough, and let's just start with one of them. So here's my rough, and I'm going to start designing it in the computer. So I'm going to open up Illustrator, and remember, you're going to create a new, and I'm 8.5 by 11, but I want a vertical layout because my drawing is vertical. Now, you could just look at your drawing. I like to place it on my page here. So I'm gonna go to File and Place, and open up my image onto this document. So if you go to Place, mine is on my desktop, so I'll just grab that and I can just set it over here. Control minus, I'm gonna zoom out. Hold shift so this doesn't get distorted. I'm on a weird tool here, so I want to go up to the black arrow tool. I'm going to hold shift to keep that in proportion. Now I can keep this off to the side and look at it, or I can place it on the page directly behind, oops, Control Z, I accidentally started twisting it. I'm going to place it on the page directly behind my drawing. So I could stretch this out. I'm going to Control minus a bit. I'm holding shift so it doesn't get distorted. Now, if it's a little bit off the proportions, I can kind of purposely distort this drawing. So look at it, it was all wobbly. It wasn't a very good drawing here. So I've got it here. And now I can just use this and draw right over top of it. So one thing that's new here is let's talk about layers. So I've placed this on the page. I'm going to use this as my guide to draw right over the top of. Over here in the right-hand side, you have a layers panel. It looks like two pages on top of one another. So in my layers panel, this is going to help me divide up and keep my layers separate. So right here, it shows me this is my pictures on layer 1. The eye symbol here just means I can see it. I can turn it off if I need to and turn it on. So I am actually going to click next to the eye and lock my layer. So nothing's going to happen if I accidentally click my arrow tool and try to move it. It's not going to let me do it unless I click on it to unlock it. So it's just a way of keeping it there so I can draw over top of it. It's my template. So now I'm going to add a new layer. It's this little icon. It's the folded corner of a page here, right next to the trash can. I'm going to click on that, and it added a layer above this original layer. So now I can just start designing on top of this. So watch here. I'm going to go to my shape tool, which is hidden under this weird flare tool. And I'm going to start by doing a rectangle. So I'm going to make it the same size as this page. If I don't get it perfect, you can go to your black arrow tool and like stretch it out. This is going to be my page to start with. You can put an outline on it or take the outline off. I'm going to make mine a little bit thicker so I can see it. Okay, if I click off of it, it takes it away. Now I can't see my drawing anymore because this top rectangle is now covering it. So if I want to see the drawing, I can click on this eye icon, turn that one off, and add a new layer, because it won't let me, like once a layer is turned off, it's not going to let me draw on it or do anything to it. I have to add a new layer to do these other things. So you can start to build up your layers, and then you can, once you draw, start turning things on and off to kind of see through below to other layers. So it helps organize your work. It helps kind of layer it up and stack it up. So now I can just go and start laying out my image. Now it's telling me I can't draw right now. I went to the circle tool because I'm on an invisible layer. My layer is not turned on. So I actually have to click on this layer. So you have to look at your layers, be aware which layer you're on when you're drawing. This is how you add new layers. You can add tons and tons of layers. So now I can go on, and I didn't draw these perfectly circular, but I'm going to do that now. Like I want to draw them circular. You can decide, do you want an outline? Do you not want an outline? And just start to draw these. So I'm going to draw the circles with the pen tool. I'm going to draw some of the lines in the background with the rectangle tool, maybe one of the line tools. And I'm going to draw these strange curve shapes with my pen tool. Now, one thing that distinguishes Illustrator from Photoshop is their layers. They both have layers, but if you look in Illustrator's layers, if I click this little side arrow, it shows you every single shape that you've drawn in order that you've drawn it. And you can go in and you can turn them off just temporarily if you need to. But there's layers within layers in Illustrator. So everything you draw goes on its own layer or sub layer. So right now I'm just drawing these circles all on the same layer, but I can actually go in and remove some if I need to, or turn some of them off temporarily. I'm just going to continue to, well, I'll do my circles all on one layer. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to do my other shapes on this layer. So this is maybe my pen layer. So I could even go in here and hold this layer down and rename it if I want to. So you can, if you click, come on, double click on it, you can call it circle. If you want to start arranging your layers, you can do that, or naming your layers. You can do as much as you want to or as little as you want to. Okay, so this one, let's actually do my lines in the background. So for one of these lines, I'm going to use a rectangle. And I can always shift these around. They might not, I'm going to use the whole size of the page because my box is a little wobbly. And then if you need to change the size, go to the arrow tool, the selection tool here. Oops, I'm accidentally rotating it. Sometimes I have to zoom in, Control Plus, to really see the anchor points. And I'm constantly on my laptop from school right clicking accidentally because I clicked too far over to the right on the keypad. So that's kind of annoying too, or on the mouse pad. Okay, so I've got this line. And then I can hold Alt or copy paste, drag this over to do my other line. And I can just squish it to do like a thinner line. Okay, so I've got those straight lines. I could have also done the line tool and just changed the thickness. So I'm going to keep that on its own layer. And now I'm going to add a new layer. And I'm going to turn off this line layer for now and everything else. It's just getting in my way. And then I'm going to use my pen tool, which is hidden right now. This curved pen tool, this pen tool with this curved line, is a different type of pen tool. So I'm not going to use that. So I'm loosely tracing this. I'm going to go all the way to the edge though. So I'm going to click and pull to the second one because I wanted a curve here. And then I'm going to click and pull up like so. Now my angle here, I'm going to turn off the fill because it's confusing. I'm going to go over, I'm going to fix that angle in a minute. I'm going to just keep clicking. I'm going to go here, click, pull, click, pull, click and pull, drag and pull, drag and pull. And like I said, I'm going to go to the edge of the page here. I'm going to complete that shape by going back to where I started, and look, I have that little circle. And then you can kind of see, I'm going to turn this off so we can really see it. It's a little bit wonky. So I'm going to go to my direct selection tool and fix this. I'm going to pull this up. This guy I need to smooth out. So if I move this handle and kind of play with it, I should be able to get it to look a little bit smoother. This is going to go off the page. So I'm just going to pull it up. If I wanted to get rid of this curve just to make it straight, I can pull this up and bring down this handle. Oops, try that again and bring down this handle, and it should straighten it up. It can be really frustrating because if you're not exactly on the point, it may not work. So it's much better sometimes to just zoom in. These little anchor points and these little curves are going to drive you a little nuts until you get used to them. Oops, because that's going to turn it. It's going to get rid of it completely. So because the pen tool can be really frustrating when you're getting started, it takes a lot of practice. If you're finding that your lines aren't completely smooth, it's because your connection points from curve to curve are a little bit off, and you can go in and try to smooth them, but part of adjusting this handle might affect another part of your curve. So, sometimes it can get a little bit frustrating. So if you have like a weird little kind of dented part in your curve, if you select with the black arrow tool to highlight your area here, you can go in and smooth out. Oops. The cool thing is there's all sorts of demos and stuff. Okay, so under this pencil with the shape, it's the shape tool, shaper tool, there's this smooth tool. So this smooth tool will only work if this is highlighted. I'll go back to the smooth tool. See, this is highlighted still. And I can just move over this anchor point and it'll start to smooth out your paths, which is kind of cool. In this area, it's the shape builder tool or the shaper tool. You've got a pencil tool where you can actually just draw more free flowing. It's a little bit squiggly though. Like the pencil tool isn't as accurate as the pen tool. It's harder to draw with. So it is an option though, but try to learn that pen tool because that's going to be your best bet. So I'm going to select this again and just kind of smooth it out. I'm just kind of running along the line until I like the way it looks. Okay, so I have my first one drawn. I'm going to turn my background on again so I can see through it. And I'm going to do my second line here, starting from the bottom. So really, if you go to the middle of every curve, so here, go to the middle of where this curve is and start click, pull. Click. Click up. And oh, I messed up that one. I'm going to go backspace one and we'll get rid of that line and I'm going to reconnect with it. This backslash symbol next to the pen tool means I'm reconnecting with a path that's already drawn. So I'm going to click and pull that a little to curve it. Click back at the center to make that straight line. I'm going to go down to where it starts to curve and then I can click and pull. Click and pull. Click and pull this way. And I think I'm going to click and pull again. Click and pull again. And I'm going to close this again. So it's a complete shape that I'm working with. I can go to my direct selection tool. I can double click on this line segment and drag it up to make it go off the top of the page. And then I'll do one more. So I'm going to come over here. This one's just going to be a line. It's not going to be a shape. So I'm going to hit enter when I'm done with that shape or that line. And then now if I go and click off of it for a second, go back to it with my selection tool, I can like thicken this line. These ones I can fill. And actually sometimes I just drag it like this. Click on the line itself and then you can fill that shape. I'm going to turn these other ones on to see what's going on now. So this is what mine looks like. So now might be a fun part to get it to have a lot of dimension. You can drag these layers around. I can drag the circle layer, if I click in my layers, on top of these other layers by clicking and dragging. And see the circles now are on top of this layer. These are my line layers. So like you can start to play around with that. And to really get some dimension here, maybe I play with the opacity to make these stand out. Maybe I play with putting a white outline on some of these. Might make it stand out from there. And I kind of like to do like a ununiform outline when I do things. It just gives it a little more dimension. Remember, like some of these might need to be smoothed a little still. Like, yeah, I think that looks a little better. This one, I actually would think this would look better. This line going from thick to thin. And then maybe I can, yeah, copy and paste this again. Control C, Control V. Maybe I can use part of it like again and try it. Add it around. So that's kind of nice in the computer. You can really fine tune things. I could rotate this if I wanted to. Kind of play with the way it looks. Maybe I'll make this one a little transparent. So if you're using color for this, if this is your color one, it can be really cool when these areas overlap when you're doing transparencies and you're doing different colors. That can be really, really fun. So just make sure it's balanced and, you know, you're playing with just making it unified. So when you're happy with the way it looks, I'm going to turn off the layer with my sketch on it because I don't need it anymore. When you're done and you're happy with the way this looks, I want these curved lines to come up. So you can drag these around. Oops, I accidentally opened that. I don't want to do that. I accidentally dragged one layer into another layer. Kind of want to be careful not to do that. If you do something that does something strange, just hit Control Z. Okay, when you get it to look the way that you want it, and I could definitely still play with this. If I don't want this to be transparent, I could always leave it at 100% too, and then choose a gray color. And then it's not going to be transparent, it's going to be solid. So if you do transparency or opacity, it's going to, make it gray if it's on a white background. And you guys can feel free to, if you think it's, would be more interesting if you added in a color. I don't know, that kind of makes the gray stand out. Okay, so when you're done with your design, I have overlapping, I have some interesting movement, straight lines, curved lines. So I think I'm good. I like this. The last thing I want to do is save this. Thought it could be cool, a little transparent. Okay, so I'm going to go to File. I turned off my background, right? So it's not there anymore. I'm going to go to File and Save As. And I'm going to name this one Line Shape. And then I'm going to put my name in there. I'll put Cotton in there. And I'm going to save an Illustrator file. An Adobe Illustrator file, it's going to give you this option. Just ignore it and just hit OK. That is going to mean you can open this file again and it'll look just like this. Your layers will all be there still and you can go in and edit it some more. So I always first save an Illustrator file. That is key. But then in order to view this image on any other computer without Illustrator or to be able to print this image, you need to save it as a photo file. So this is vector now, which is really awesome, but you're going to save the vector file and Illustrator file, but then you're going to go in and save it also as like a JPEG or a PNG. Personally, I think PNGs are a little bit, they're a little bit sharper when you go to print them. So I'm going to cancel. There's no option. When I go to Save As, there's no option for JPEG or PNG. There's a PDF here, but nothing else. So I'm going to cancel out of here. To save your file as a picture file, you're going to go to File, and you have to go to Export. This is what everyone gets confused here in Illustrator. So I'm going to export it as a PNG. And then here, you have to click this Use Artboards in order for not to, so it doesn't save anything that's off the side or the edge of your page. So I'm just going to click that. There's nothing off my page right now, but just to get in the habit of that, always check this box. I'm saving it to my desktop right now. I'm going to export it. So I went to Export As. You always want to make sure it's at a high resolution. So 300 PPIs or pixels per square inch. So right now I am changing this to a pixelated image, but it's going to be a high resolution one. And I still have my Illustrator file saved. It's going to ask me, because it's a PNG, do I want a transparent background? So anywhere that's white would be see-through. No, I want it just to be white background, and then I'm going to hit OK. For some things, you might want a transparent background. For this, I don't need it. And then I'm good. So always save at the highest quality. 300 pixels per square inch is the standard high quality for printing. And always, just make sure you're paying attention to your saving settings. So first I went File, Save As, chose Illustrator file. Now my Illustrator file is there with all my layers. Now I'm just pretty much taking a picture of this file. So Export As. I chose a PNG. You could choose JPEG or something different, but I like the PNG because you have the transparent background option. Click this Use Artboards, and then you export it.